Good afternoon, everybody. The organization that I will be presenting is the Anti-Cruelty Society. I believe they are the best organization, nonprofit, that our class can give our donation to. Uh, Before we get into that, let's go back to 2006. Year after I graduated high school, the Bears made it to the Super Bowl. We lost, though, to the Colts. But the team I want to focus on is the Atlanta Falcons, specifically Michael Vick, their star quarterback. He was probably the most gifted athletic player in the league. Him and Devin Hester, those seasons, uh, Michael Vick was the highest paid player. But unfortunately, he was involved in a dogfighting operation, which landed him in prison, do some federal prison time because of his involvement. So, question: if you were given the opportunity to educate people on how to appropriately treat animals, would you take it? I mean, if you're a pet owner, and everybody except one person who did our survey in the class is a pet owner. So, I mean, if you can imagine some of the barbarity and cruelty that animals face, I mean, just in this case specifically, he had 54 pit bulls. When police were able to get into his compound, a mansion in Virginia, they find a blood-tinged fighting area. They find rape stands. These super aggressive pit bulls, they don't mate easily, so you have to prop them up so that you can propagate this next generation of fighting dogs. We'll revisit that at the end of the presentation. Parting sticks, treadmills, weighted vests so that you could throw these dogs in the pool. So now they have to paddle and enable to stay afloat, or you drown is the other option. By the time you get done, you build a lot of muscle to where you're a more effective fighting dog. So, I mean, as a pet owner myself, as a father, which is another aspect of it we'll get into in 1 minute, I would prefer that people didn't perpetrate acts of cruelty against animals. They educate people is the main goal. You have to teach the masses how to treat animals. Common sense isn't so common. A lot of people do terrible things to pets, and if we can do public service announcements and an ad campaign that will possibly prevent the types of behaviors that we see on a daily basis. I mean, if you watch the news, read the newspaper, then by all means, like, let's do it. So let's discuss why there's a need for an organization that teaches people how to properly treat pets. I read in an academic journal these two psychologists, Alian and Parfit, they posited that animal abuse has been identified as one of the abusive behaviors associated with intimate partner violence. And men who abuse animals partake in sexual violence, marital rape, emotional violence, stalking, and other forms of aggressive behavior. So, based off what I was able to collect from these two psychologists, it starts at a young age, and over the course of your life, if you've been desensitized to treating small pets, dogs, cats, whatever, evil, you're treating them inhumanely, treating them with cruelty and hatred, and you can just go to sleep, desensitizes you over the course of your life. So now you get into intimate relationship, and you are able to perpetrate acts of violence. Speaking as a law enforcement officer, I guess I sit with a lot of people who committed a lot of heinous acts against people. Three other psychologists, Monsalve, Ferreira, Garcia, posit that animal abuse and interpersonal violence witnessed by children helps them to develop into criminals themselves over the course of their lives. So sitting in the house with a dad who's kicking the dog around will eventually make them a psychopath as well, or a sociopath. The difference, the psychopath doesn't care who knows. The sociopath kind of keeps it on the low and will do unspeakable acts of cruelty against their pet, out of sight of everybody else, their pet and the people in their family circle. So now, contributing to the Anti-Cruelty Society is investing in the education of countless people through the initiatives taken by the organization. They spay and neuter pets, which is extremely important. I guess in some communities, a lot of people come into contact with their animal. I mean, they're like, sell them on the street corner to people who probably shouldn't have them. It seems like there should be an application process for people to obtain a pet. You should see the type of house this animal is going to. It may sound excessive, especially people in my community. I mean, that's how most everybody gets their pet. Or you take a stray, like out of the alley or something like that, and congratulations, this is your pet. And they don't get the veterinary care that they deserve, which is another aspect of it. The Anti-Cruelty Society will take care of your pet for low cost or no cost. So, like I said, as a dog owner myself, my dog cut his pad on his paw. $1,600. Like, a lot of people wouldn't pay that. They would release this dog in the woods or something. Like, if this is the only option, like, I have to pay $1,600 or cauterize it myself, like with fire or something. So they will take care of this animal. I guess one of the objections that came right from the survey was, why should we waste money on animals when there are people who need it? There are organizations, or religious government organizations, that take care of people, but not very many that take care of pets. The other thing is, why should there be this objective standard for everybody? Every household is different, I guess you would say. It's important to understand that the Anti-Cruelty Society isn't advocating for luxurious living standards for pets. All they're trying to do is make sure that people don't abuse, neglect, treat them cruelly. Where does the money go was the third concern. In 2018, over 25,000 children were reached through the Anti-Cruelty Society. They partnered with UIC Veterinary College and train the next generation of veterinarians to identify animals that are being abused, which is kind of like a catch-22. A lot of veterinarians don't want to take food out of their own mouth by throwing people under the bus, getting them locked up. But it's likened to the push to have pediatricians report parents who are possibly abusing their children. That came about in the 1960s, so before that time, I mean, based on the stories I'm hearing from older generations, everybody was abused, beaten with whatever the parents could get their hands on. As time went on, that type of behavior was no longer acceptable. They operate rehab and treatment centers, pet loss group sessions. They have visitation and foster programs for stray pets. Like I say, first aid, CPR classes, and workshops. These are all the things that are funded by our donation. So in closing, I was talking about the rape stands. One of the dogs in particular, in one of the articles that I had to read to refresh myself on the whole Michael Vick thing, said that one of the female dogs had all of her teeth removed from her head. She was a pretty good fighting dog, and in order to carry on some of her attributes, they wanted to mate her. So I don't know how you would pull off an operation like that. I guess you sedate the dog, take a wrench or something, and start pulling the teeth out. I can remember one of the veterinarians who rescued the dog said that the pain must have been unbearable and excruciating. And I guess in my mind, the only thing is a person of that caliber who's made it to the NFL, you would think he should know, but he probably just didn't know. Came from a poor community where he had to hustle his whole life, and I mean, some characteristics die hard. So I mean, it's obviously a community of people, so like cult-like atmosphere, and it's competitive. He's a competitive person, so I'm not by any means dismissing or trying to defend him. I mean, it was indefensible. I guess that's for a whole nother presentation, though. Rehabilitation versus just straight penalties, and the stigma that comes along with it, which seems to be a trademark of the American criminal justice system. I guess I deal with people all the time who can't get a break. You did the time for your sentence, and now you can't be reintegrated into society. It's like Michelle Alexander, her new Jim Crow. But in closing, the organization that we should contribute our class donation to is the Anti-Cruelty Society. Thank you.